Never ruin an apology with an explanation or an excuse. This is Sue with My Step Ahead. I'm an ACC certified master life and mental health coach and the founder of My Step Ahead. And today I want to talk about some things that are going on in the Christian music field with a couple artists who have had some conflict and are resolving it in a very public way. There's a lot we can learn from that. So let's get right to it. You may or may not have seen it on social media about an artist named Forrest Frank who had a tragic accident where he broke his back. And through the course of events and the prayers of a lot of people, his back was healed miraculously by God in a much faster process than anyone ever expected. He was documenting his whole journey through that. And another artist, Crowder, broke his leg and they reached out together. They were writing songs about it. But then things started to go off kilter. Then other artists started making parody videos and posting them online about different injuries or surgeries or whatever. And in my opinion, it started getting out of hand. What really happened, beyond my opinion, is that Forrest was offended, and rightfully so. But what I want to talk about is the example that we're seeing from Forrest and these other artists about how to handle conflict. A couple of the other artists, a couple of the things they said. One person, when Forrest approached them, said, "If you were offended, I'll take it down." Another artist said, "That wasn't my intention." And I want to focus on those phrases here in a minute because those go into a weaker apology than what can really happen. So when we resolve conflict, when you are in conflict with somebody, there is a I don't want to say a proper way, but there is a more direct and beneficial and fruitful way to resolve the conflict than outing them on social media and telling all your friends about it and gossiping and going to everybody else except the person who hurt you. This whole channel is about bridging the gap between faith and mental health. So we're going to talk about conflict resolution, or we're going to talk about it in ways that the Bible talks about. It may not be so much a blunt, this is what you should do, but there are numerous principles, and that's what we're seeing at play in this whole situation on social media. So there's a few different things with this. As believers, we are called to a higher standard. We are called to a higher standard than society has, where if someone has offended us, we are to go to them, sometimes even before they come to us. And that's part of the higher standard. We are to consider others better than yourself from Philippians. There are a lot of verses that speak to this topic, and you'll find them listed under the description. So, what is a strong way, a solid way, a biblical way of dealing with conflict? There's different responsibilities each person has if you're the offender or if you are the one who has been offended. And those responsibilities go hand in hand to reach a godly resolution to the situation. Now, before I get into the rest of this, that does not mean that the relationship may end up where it was or even better. Sometimes things aren't going to work out. What you're looking for is the process and the respect for the other person in addressing directly the conflict. So if you are the one who has been offended, what are your responsibilities? Your responsibility is to go directly to the other person privately, not shout them out on Facebook, not blow them up on Messenger, not Snapchat or anything else, but to approach them directly. That alone can be uncomfortable because we've gotten really good at hiding behind the machines. In this situation, it is best to pick up the phone, have the conversation, and say, "Hey, I need to talk about something that happened. When can we get together?" And have the conversation. Have the conversation in person if possible, or at least face to face or voice to voice. If you are the offended one, your responsibility is first and foremost to go directly to the person privately. Then share your feelings about the situation and how you were affected. In this situation with Forrest Frank that I'm referring to, when one of the artists posted something, Forrest reached out to the person privately. It wasn't on blast on social media. It was a private phone call. And he said, "Hey, this really hit me wrong. I really don't appreciate this. This entire situation with my back was very intense and very personal and very major for my family. And you're making fun of it. And I don't appreciate that." He went directly to the person. He shared his feelings about the situation and how it affected him. And then this might be, as if that's not hard enough, the next part of your responsibility may be the hardest. Be silent and listen before saying anything else. You have gone to the person, you have shared your feelings, you have shared with them what happened. Done this privately. Now your next step in this is to listen to them. If you are the offender, your responsibilities are this. First of all, to listen to what's being said fully. Listen to understand, not to defend. Listen to hear how your behavior affected somebody else that you care about, not to excuse it away or make yourself look good or try to gaslight them or tell them how wrong they are or how they can flip this around, that they just misunderstood and this wasn't your intention. First responsibility is to listen fully and intently with no other option and no other thing going through your mind of how you're going to get out of this or make this look good. The next thing is to own that you have hurt someone. A lot of times we're growing up, you're made to apologize. I'm sorry. Make up with your brother. I'm sorry. But saying I'm sorry is not an apology. And I'm going to get into that in just a minute. Saying I'm sorry is not an apology. It's really not even an acknowledgement of the wrong, because you don't know you're not saying what you're sorry for. You're not taking ownership of anything. You're not having any skin in the game. So just saying I'm sorry doesn't cut it. So your second responsibility is own that you hurt someone and realize that intention versus perception are two different things and they don't matter. Your intention does not matter in this. What matters is that your behavior hurt someone else. Your behavior hurt someone. You need to own it. You need to make it right. That's what needs to happen. After you have listened intently, after you have owned that your behavior hurt someone, wait for the response. And again, the wait is the hardest on both sides of this. And the reason it is hard is because we are geared to defend ourselves, to cast it off, to brush it off, to make it seem like it was no big deal. And that, in today's term, is gaslighting. When you are trying to tell someone, "Oh, you're overreacting. Oh, I didn't mean it that way. Come on, just get over it. Come on, we joke about this all the time. You heard me talking about the same way over there." That's an excuse. That's trying to explain it away. That is disregarding and disrespecting what the other person is experiencing because of your behavior. So the waiting is the hard part. Listening, owning your behavior, and waiting. So when you wait after you have owned it and heard, that is where the resolution starts coming in. That is where you start figuring out, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to make this right? Friend Kathy Sprinkle shares a story about a gentleman named Randy Pausch, and he has a book called The Last Lecture. And I'm going to look at my note here real quick. He talks about the three parts of an apology. What I did was wrong. I'm sorry what I did hurt you. And how do I make that right? Notice the ownership in that. Notice no room for gaslighting, no room for intention versus perception, no room for, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry." Notice those words aren't even in there. The words are, "What I did was wrong." You're owning it. When you say you're sorry, what are you sorry for? Are you sorry you got caught? Are you sorry that, you sorry that I'm saying something? You have to own it to really have healing in the relationship. And with that, once you have both had your chance to talk respectfully, listening, not cutting each other off, seeking first to understand, then to be understood, as Stephen Covey says, that is when you then move into how do I make this right? And realize it is the responsibility of the offender to ask that question, because you are the one that has the responsibility to make it right, because you are in the wrong. So the offender is the one that should be asking, how can I make this right? My behavior hurt you. How can I make this right? That is where the resolution comes. Now, there may be some thought of, well, I'm a Christian and they're a Christian, so they have to forgive me. There also comes a part that there is humanness involved here. And sometimes the emotions are so involved and there's such deep hurt, the person can't get to forgiveness right away. And that is okay. I don't see any requirement where it says you have to stay here until I forgive you, or I have to stay here until you forgive me. What it says is go to your brother. It even, and the part about going to them privately, it even says if you come to the altar and realize that a brother has a wrong against you, to leave the altar and go be reconciled. So right there, if you realize that you have hurt someone, right there in the Gospels, you are responsible for going to make it right. So if the person is not to that point of being ready to forgive yet, accept that, love them, and realize that that is what they're working on in their relationship with God. Don't get in the way of that. That is part of their spiritual growth as well. Your job at that point then becomes to give them space, say what's the best way to proceed while you work it through, and ask them to point it out, because it is between them and God. Your part right now, if they aren't ready to forgive, is to say, I will be praying for you. What is my best way to proceed in this relationship for the time being? And listen to them again, and then honor that. If they're asking for space, give space. They are not punishing you. They are answering your question honestly to let you know what they need so that they can continue to deal with the hurt. The first step is they have to deal with you as the offender. Then they have to continue to get with God and continue to resolve the things that are going through their heart and through their mind with God. So bringing it back to this social media thing I talked about, Forrest got a hold of the first artist. They had a conversation which was very strong, to the point that Forrest now feels like he has a new best friend and wants this person to come over for dinner and hang out with them, because they had a chance to, one, resolve the conflict, and two, then get to know each other because the conflict was out of the way. As they say, a friend may be a phone call away. In the other situation, Forrest reached out to the other artist, and again, conversation was had. And I believe resolution would occurred as well. Now, again, I mentioned a couple things that I heard the artists say in their videos apologizing. And one of them was, if you're offended. It does not matter if that person is offended. What matters is that you did something wrong. When you say, if you're offended, I'll do this. I'm sorry if I offended you. Let me know. That doesn't cut it, because that then puts the responsibility back on the other person, and in a way tries to excuse your behavior. It must be okay if I didn't offend them. Really? Your lack of judgment for whatever is okay just because someone didn't say something? I don't think that's right. The other artist said that it wasn't their intention. And again, you've already heard my comments about intention doesn't matter. What matters is that you did something that probably lacked some discernment and hurt someone. And the responsibility was to bring resolution and peace to that. So all of these principles are biblical principles. This is biblical mental health. This is the word put in action in everyday life that protects our mental health, that shines our light as a believer, and shows others how we are held to a higher standard by God, and therefore we hold each other to a higher standard. I would love to hear your comments. What was something new that you picked up from this? What is something that you can apply the next time there's conflict in your relationship? If this was helpful and brought value to your life, please like, subscribe, and share, and be sure to come back for the next video next time. Thanks.